Welcome back to The Shed. Tonight it gives me great pleasure to share with you the 1973 Hugo and Nebula award-winning novel by Arthur C. Clarke, Rendezvous with Rama. So what I would like to do, as always, is provide a bit of a plot overview, talk to what I liked, what I didn't like, I'll put it to the memory test, we'll make some recommendations, and I'll rank it on our ever-growing sci-fi shed ladder, where I've been ranking all these wonderful novels. So in the year 2077, we learned that there's an asteroid that has hit the planet Earth and pretty much destroyed Italy and the whole Mediterranean basin there. And this has given birth to the Space Guard, and their sole purpose is to identify incoming interstellar asteroids like the one that hit Italy, to provide a bit of a forewarning, a warning system, so that something like this will never happen again and basically shoot it out of orbit or something. So we fast forward to the year 2030, and we've just identified the first of these interstellar asteroids coming into the planet. And what's rather interesting is that we quickly determined that this is not your natural asteroid. This seems to be some kind of man-made, or at least not a natural recurring rock, because it seems to have some pretty strange anomalies that just make it interesting. And what we learn is that the closest spaceship to this identified asteroid, which they've codenamed Rama, is a spaceship captained by this guy called Norton in his spaceship called Endeavour. So they rendezvous with Rama, and they soon discover that, yeah, this seems to be some kind of spacecraft, and all that pursues from there. So what is it that I really liked in particular? Look, ever since I read this novel, I think this was one of the first novels that really, again, just sparked my love affair with science fiction. So it's really difficult for me to sort of, provide a plot overview and not get excited about what I think is one of my all-time favorite novels. And what makes it really interesting for me is that excitement, right? I've always envisioned that if we were to come into contact with some kind of alien being, I just don't think it will happen the way that a lot of Hollywood movies portray it. I don't think there's going to be this big, affair and these spaceships going, oh, come in peace and all that. I really do honestly think that our first contact will most likely, if there is life out there, be the likes of something like what we see in Rendezvous with Rama. It'll be some kind of exploratory vessel or some kind of probe that comes into our solar system, because we've sent these out ourselves, right? We've sent these things out into the galaxy ourselves, and I just often think that this will be the kind of first contact we would have. And what I really enjoy about that is, in Rendezvous with Rama, is that we're brought onto that journey. Like, I think Arthur C. Clarke just does that wonderful job of really describing this vessel and the really inner mechanics of how this thing would operate. I mean, Arthur C. Clarke, I think, is one of the best hard science fiction writers for me that is out there, because I always find that his science fiction is plausible. Like, these things I can see almost happening, right? And just one of the things I love about Arthur C. Clarke is that I can always envision that, yeah, something like this would happen. I mean, we have got a Space Guard program now, right? We have, because of Arthur C. Clarke, igniting that passion in people, we have built this Space Guard, the real Space Guard, that is looking for these interstellar objects coming into our solar systems, for things like the planet busters that could potentially destroy life on Earth. And we're trying to build, controls and mitigations for that, right? Straight out of science fiction, right? Because it is that plausible science fiction that I absolutely love in Arthur C. Clarke. So yes, I really do like Arthur C. Clarke's science fiction, hard science fiction, because he's really thought about the inner mechanics of this Rama, how it would maintain gravity, if there was some kind of ocean or water in this vessel, how would it react with, freezing conditions in space? How would that change, when it comes closer to a star that's given warmth? How would the propulsion system work? All these things just are answered in this lovely novel, which I really liked. So one of the things I really like about Arthur C. Clarke's Rendezvous with Rama is the mystery of Rama. I really enjoy the fact that, we don't necessarily get all the answers. We're left guessing and this thing comes into our solar system, and what can we learn during that time frame? And without giving spoilers away, I like books like that don't make it black and white, right? I think that when you're talking about alien beings, their motivations and their conduct should be a mystery to us. I don't think that, they're going to be walking on two legs like we do, communicate the way we do, and have the world view that we do. So I really like the fact that he challenges that and makes a beautiful mystery of it. So what is there not to like in Rendezvous with Rama? Look, I'd say this. It is a plot-driven novel, not a character-driven novel. So if you're coming into this book hoping to get some really great characters like we've seen on the board in the past, I would say that this is not really Arthur C. Clarke's strong point. I think I made that criticism in the past with Fountains of Paradise that is ranking pretty well on the Sci-Fi Shed ladder. But Arthur C. Clarke, I think he was just a visionary, and he had a very scientific view of the world that I really enjoyed. So I would have to say that yes, you're not going to get strong characters that came out of here, nor are those characters necessarily rememberable. So some people may be disappointed in a mystery novel that leaves more questions than it does answers. And look, I think that for me, that's not a negative at all, but I will throw it out there because I think there will be some people who may not necessarily enjoy this novel from cover to cover because you do want to see some kind of resolution. Now I would make a counter argument to that my thoughts are, if we were to encounter alien beings and see their alien aircraft like this, I think there would be more questions more questions than we would have answers. And I think that's one of the great appeals that I have in Rendezvous with Rama, one of the reasons I really enjoyed it. Which is also one of the reasons that, the sequels, for example, Rama 2, which I've got here, and there was also The Gardens of Rama. I think there was another one as well. And that's, for some reason, those novels haven't done as well as the original Rendezvous with Rama, because they do give you some answers. I would say that those sequels are a little bit more character-driven, but I think for me, it took away some of the enjoyment that I really took away from Rendezvous with Rama. Look, that's probably a good segue into the memory test. When it comes to the memory test, this is one of those novels that really ignited my passion for science fiction. I absolutely love this novel. And when it comes to the memory test, look, I've read this novel several times over the years, and it's a novel that I go back to from time to time because I really do enjoy it. But I'd have to say that, if I'm fair, the impact that it had the very first time I read it was definitely not the impact I had today with, what feels like thousands of books that I've read between Rendezvous with Rama and the modern day. It hasn't had the same impact, but I would still say that it is definitely 100% memorable. And for me, Rendezvous with Rama, the real star of Rama, Rendezvous with Rama is Rama. It is that spaceship. It is the concept of that, spaceship that comes into our planet and what do we make of it. And that concept just stayed with me forever. I have never forgotten Rendezvous with Rama. The characters I didn't really remember much of the characters, but that world and that's, the cylindrical Rama, I've never been able to forget. But I would have to say, yes, it didn't have the same impact that it did in my very first read. So look, when it comes to recommendations, it's probably not a huge surprise if you're still watching that I'll highly recommend this one. It is one of my all-time favorite novels, and I can highly recommend it. And I would say this, if you like books like The Martian by Andy Weir, I think there's a huge element of that in Arthur C. Clarke's Rendezvous with Rama. I think if you've enjoyed Larry Niven's Ringworld, there's a big part of that I think you'll like in this one as well. And also I would say Greg Bear's Eon. If you've enjoyed that novel, I'd say you would highly recommend you read this one because you'll enjoy it as well. It's needless to say, if you're an Arthur C. Clarke fan and you haven't read Rendezvous with Rama, then you really are missing out, and I urge you to go out and buy this one as soon as you can or pick it up from your local library and have a good old read. Hey, it's going to be an interesting one when I put my full criteria around this one and see exactly where it's going to rank on our sci-fi share ladder. How about we flip the cameras around, and I hope you join me for that. So back to the share ladder and ranking tonight's absolute classic, Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke, that won the Hugo and Nebula Award. So when it comes to my input criteria, I've documented down below in the description. And I am looking for those things like the concept, the execution, the writing, the ending, the plot, the characters. And when I look at all of that, I always think that a great place to start would be Ringworld by Larry Niven. The reason I say that is because the concepts are very similar. We have this huge alien artifact, and who built it? Why did they build it? Why is it here? Can we learn anything from it? But where I would say that Rendezvous with Rama, exceeded Ringworld was in the characters. Now, I did mention in my review that I don't think the characters are a strong point in this novel, but I did feel that they were more realistic than what we found in Ringworld. And I've got my full review if you want to understand exactly why that is. But I'd have to say that Rendezvous with Rama, I think the concepts were very good, but I think this were pretty much on par. But I would say that Rendezvous with Rama, the execution and the characters gave it a few more points than it did for Ringworld. The other obvious choice to look at is another Arthur C. Clarke novel that is doing pretty well on the A side, in The Fountains of Paradise. Now, that was also a very interesting book. We learned so much about that space elevator and how, relevant has that been in so many science fiction novels. That theme has been explored in books like Red Mars and others. I think there was another one on there as well. So that concept, again, was so strong and it was well executed, had some great characters. But I'm going to have to say that Rendezvous with Rama, that concept, I mean, we've seen it with the Uma, whatever it is, that first interstellar real asteroid that we found with the Space Guard program that was invented. I mean, that concept is almost a reality, and Arthur C. Clarke foresaw that. So I'm going to have to say the concept and the fact that we've actually seen these interstellar asteroids coming into our planet because of things like Space Guard, I'm going to have to say that concept is just brilliant, and I'm going to have to give it over The Fountains of Paradise. How about we go straight to the top of the board? Can we say that this novel is better than Hyperion? Now, many people would, but I'm going to go back to my criteria. And I think what makes Hyperion, again, very great novel for me is the fact that we explore so many different concepts. And I really like that pilgrimage tale. And some of the stories are just absolutely unforgettable for me. And I really did enjoy the characters and the setting and the ending. Everything about that novel just rang true. So it's not going to top the charts. A Canticle for Leibowitz is another brilliant one because, again, I really enjoyed the concept. I really enjoyed the characters. I think the writing was absolutely brilliant in Walter M. Miller's A Canticle for Leibowitz. And I'm going to have to say that A Canticle for Leibowitz was almost on par except for the writing and the characters. I think the characters and the writing in Canticle for Leibowitz gave it a couple of percentage marks higher than we did with Rendezvous for Rama. We're sort of narrowing it down because the reason I say that is because, so much of me says this is one of the greatest, at least top 5 novels of all time. But there are some, it's not a perfect novel either, and I can understand when I'm true to my criteria why it won't necessarily rank right up there. Which then takes us to Your Scattered Bodies Go by Philip Jose Farmer and The Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. And I'm going to stop deliberating because I think I've just made up my mind. I'm going to rank it just below Way Station. And one of the reasons is because I really love Way Station. Again, it sort of sparks the same kind of light in the passion that I have for science fiction, right? Where Enoch Wallace, the main protagonist on Way Station, he was caretaking this, look, I'll link it down below, but, he was caretaking this Way Station and he was mixing up with a whole lot of aliens. So really interesting concept, wonderful pastoral scenery. And I really, really enjoyed the character of Enoch Wallace. And that Way Station and Enoch were just unforgettable. So when it comes to the memory test, it gets the slight edge of over Rendezvous with Rama, and it comes down to the character development. Hey, that was a delight bringing this to you. I hope you do go out there and have a read. It is a classic novel, but be forewarned, I guess. It is hard science fiction, but very, very enjoyable and approachable science fiction at that. So where do we go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Top 10, it's coming in at number 6 at the moment. Hey, where would you have ranked it? Have you read Rendezvous with Rama? Does it ignite the same passion I hope I've been able to share with you today? Is it enough for your liking at all? I know some people don't enjoy this novel. I definitely have met a few online over the years that don't quite rate it the same way, but that's where I'm sitting tonight. Hey, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you tonight, and I hope to see you next time in the shed.